We are back. Synthfest 2024 Sheffield. It always amazes me how many vendors come together to show off the latest technology, and you're free to test and try out all of this with zero pressure to try or buy anything. And most vendors do have salespeople about, but if you've got a question, that's great because I'll answer them. But as I say, I felt no pressure to buy anything at all. It's great to network and meet the people behind some of these small brands, which is really cool. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of the highlights I had from Synthfest. I'm not going to demo any instruments. Simply me figuring out or struggling to figure out a synth for a couple of minutes is not going to be a fair review of what that instrument can do. You know, you're best off watching a YouTube video that's been researched and well thought out. That's going to give you better feedback. But I still think there's some interesting things that is worth talking about in this video. I'm going to take you through my day as I did it in order, and hopefully you find something interesting from that. So as we walked in, the first few tables had some Soma Lab creations on, and I find these really interesting to play with, as they kind of pull you away from a system or a way of working that you're familiar with. It takes you to like a childlike curiosity where you've got to play with the instrument, and you've got to listen and figure out what it's doing. You need to learn to understand the instrument and get the most from it. I think in my studio it's very easy just to play a keyboard and get used to the same patterns of behaviour, and something like this would be great for starting off a new idea. I imagine if you had something like this and you used it as a starting point, I think it could work. So one thing I really enjoy about Synthfest is that it has lots of talks throughout the day, and the first talk was an open mic night, but for electronic artists. Now, to be honest, this is not something I knew that existed. Growing up, I've kind of gone to a whole range of acoustic nights. I've been like folk nights, open mic nights, and it's a really good way of kind of growing as an artist. You kind of get to learn how to hold yourself on stage, how to craft talking to the audience. It's a great way of networking, and it's just, it gives you that step from being something you practice in the bedroom to something that you're going to perform in front of someone. And you kind of get some nice feedback, and they're usually very welcoming places. And to think that someone's doing that for electronic artists, that's really good. And I think I'm going to look out for that, and if there's any local, I'm going to try and get myself down. And even if I don't perform anything, I think it's still going to be a good place to just learn. And as I say, watching this talk that had a range of different performers on, and it was really good to kind of see how they worked, what instruments they did. There was a whole range of different artists. Yeah, I'm just going to say I really enjoyed it. It's one of those things that the amount of learning is limitless, especially for me anyway. So the first year I went to Synthfest, I didn't realise there was a load of rooms below the main room. So I ended up rushing through them. And yeah, I thought I'd hit these first this time round, give them plenty of time. And the first room was the Yamaha room. And they had a little corner sectioned off with red rope, which I thought was a little odd, but you know, inside there's a DX7. I thought, oh God, I have to go with that after I'm spending a lot of this year refurbishing a DX7. And it had some quite weird presets on, but it actually turns out it wasn't just any DX7, it was Tony Banks's DX7 from Genesis, and it had his presets on, which I thought was really cool, giving the opportunity to kind of play not only a legendary synth, but an actual one-off legendary synth with presets set on it. That was really cool. But yeah, thank you Synthfest for that opportunity. That was really cool. So Yamaha. I often think they don't get enough credit for what they do because they consistently have great instruments that are great quality. I don't know, especially in the guitar world, I think they're a lot cooler than people make out. And if you think about it, like in keyboards, you've got the Reverse range. Like each one of those keyboards has got a huge sound and so fun and portable. I absolutely love them all. And having to play around this room, there was some FM synths, but ones that I really quite enjoyed was the CP73 and the YC73 models. I think both of those had quite a nice range of sounds. The simulated action, it was really enjoyable to play. I think sometimes with hammer action, like simulated keyboards, they can be a little bit sapping. It can kind of take away the fun a little bit, but I felt like it encouraged me to play more, so I really like that. I think I could definitely find space in my studio for one of those. In the next room was Korg. Now there's two things in the Korg room that I really enjoyed, and there was this modular prototype machine. I want to know a lot more on this. But then there's also the microkorg too. Now the microkorg was my first proper synth that I got hands on, and I really learned how to use and craft and shape sounds. And I think it's such good value for money. Like even then and now, it's an amazing synth. I'd highly recommend it to anyone. It's got a good balance of features and easy to use. And I think sometimes with synthesizers, it's easy to kind of end up at similar sounds or sounds that aren't always pleasant. Where with the microkorg, it's got so many different starting points. It's quite easy to kind of get close to a sound you like and then slowly craft it to what you want. I think that's one of the big strengths of it. So having to get my hands on the second version of this, I was excited. There's a reason the Killers started off with a microkorg and still use one today on stage. So the first thing I noticed is we've got this wonderful screen. This is a colour screen. It's got so much detail in. And this is such a nice improvement, because I think one thing you can kind of get lost with the original is you kind of change what different controls do, and you can easily forget that. So having a screen that reminds you of what every control does is really good. But also it's got an extra oscillator, and I think this opens up a lot more interesting and fuller sounds. I think these are both huge improvements, and to be honest, I think it's going to be a big hit. But if we look at what the market's like then, when the microkorg first came out, I wasn't aware of anything else that really competed with it. But nowadays, there's so many micro synths. It'll be interesting to see if it can stand up on its own. But listening to it, playing with it, it definitely seemed good. I definitely want to dive a lot deeper into that and, demonstrate what it can do. So the next room was Roland. Oh man, there's so many ways to go poor. It's sad how many music shops have closed down in recent years. I know YouTube's a good place for reviews, but I always like to have a go myself. And I think that's one really good thing of Synthfest, is that it allows you to, as I say, have a play of these instruments, not have like sales pressure to purchase them. You're free to kind of spend as long as you want with them. And you can also talk to other people that might actually own these instruments. But yeah, the Roland room was really busy. There's so much going on. And I think, yeah, there's a lot to offer there. I don't think I can really do justice. So the next room was mixed, and it had a range of different brands in. And I spent a bit of time here with the Osmos, and I think it's growing on me a bit, I think when I first played this, I kind of saw it as like a MIDI piano controller and not really like an expression controller. And I think that's where I went wrong. So if I did a lot of film and TV work, I think this would be really cool. Or maybe even orchestral, where you could kind of have a melody line being a bit more expressive. You can do that still with a MIDI controller, but then, I don't know, I think it might be easier. As I say, last time I played it, I wanted to play it like a piano, and it's just not a piano. I think you need to imagine it as like a string machine, and I think that's where its strength is. But yeah, as I said, there's so many beautiful bits of equipment here you just left to explore. And as I said, there's no pressure, no salesman. Some of this stuff you just read about online, and even in music shops, some of this stuff doesn't show up. And having the ability to actually have a go, feel the quality of it, that tells you a lot about something. Pressing a switch, sometimes that makes all the difference, you know what I mean? It might sound like a small feature, but when you pick something up and you just know its quality, you know that something's going to last a long time. You can check that out and get that feeling from the equipment. Also in this room we had Artura. So here we have the Astrolab. Now check out this tiny screen. It's got so much detail. And the design of this thing is such a beautiful instrument. It's so simple, but it's still got enough controls on there to kind of control what you want. Very different from the Matrix Brute and Polybrute. But yeah, this was quite fun to play with. To be honest, I didn't get deep enough to kind of explore all the sounds. So the next vendor I spent some time with was Build Your Own Modular. And I really like this. Who doesn't want to build their own Euro rack synth? And this is something that is on my to-do list. I have been looking at lots of different open source and guides that are out there on the web. Though looking at some of the part lists, it's not always easy to procure what's listed. And as I say, there's often little supported documentation. So having a kit like this, you know you're going to be able to complete it because all the parts can be included. If you have any issues, I'm guessing there's going to be support. I think the only thing that puts me off was it'd be good if it had like a subscription model, or you could buy individual modules, just so that instead of having to pay one big lump sum, you could buy the modules over like, I don't know, one a month and build up the kit, and then it seems less substantial. Maybe I'm wrong, but if that was an option, I probably would sign up. So this brings us to the next talk that was on. So the second talk that I hit was on drum machines and the history of them. So I'm going to include a link below on a different talk so you can watch them yourself. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. But I'll say this one was really interesting. I really like drum machines. I like the sounds they make. I like the way they're different to acoustic kits. And they don't try and be acoustic kits. They come with their own sounds. And this talk kind of covered some of the history of that, where the sounds came from. Some are quite unexpected. And one of the highlights was a demonstration of the Wurlitzer Sideman drum machine. And this has like a moving arm that touches different electrical contacts. A lot like a car distributor cap, and as the arm kind of makes contact with a contact, it triggers a new sound to be made, and you can kind of change the speed of this arm, and you can kind of program the different contacts to do different sounds. It's a really simple way of controlling the timing mechanism, but it also visually kind of lets you see how the drum machine works. But as I say, I'm not going to cover too much more. I say recommend watching the video. So after that, I head to my favourite vendor of the show, Rhodes Music Group UK, and I had a prototype piano on display. Now this is something really special. This prototype is one that they've been travelling around, and it's been signed by many customers and different performers. So I've included some photographs or video of the different photographs, and put in the comments which ones you recognise. I think here we got Herbie Hancock, which is really cool, to be able to play the same piano that Herbie's played. I can also see Jamie Oliver's up there. And yeah, there's so many. And as I say, put me in the comments what the ones you spot. It's so cool to actually have a play this piano. And even with it being an early prototype, it played so nicely. I think sometimes with electric pianos, they can be a little bit sapping, but no, this is really quite fun. And with the range of controls, you have such a range of sounds you can play. I can definitely see him selling a lot more of these. But yeah, please do like and subscribe to my channel to help me getting closer to owning one of these machines maybe. Who knows, it might happen. And then that brings us on to the final talk of the day, and this was DivKid. I probably don't know as much about DivKid as I should. I'll put my hands up there. But this talk was really good. It was a demonstration of how he builds up a patch on a Eurorack system. And it started from a completely blank setup to putting in every cable and explaining what each cable did. I think one thing that I found quite interesting was how he created different segments of sounds. So like a song would normally have like, I don't know, like an intro, verse, chorus and breakdowns. And I always thought with Eurorack you kind of stuck creating like one loop of sound. Seeing him show how he could create these different segments was really cool. And by having like different levels of probability triggering different things, it was quite inspiring. I am getting more and more warmed up to Eurorack. But yeah, so many wires. I still can't figure out what everyone did. But I don't know how he keeps track of it. But I guess it's one of those things, the more you play with, the better you'll get at it. But as I say, I'm not going to spoil it. The link is below if you want to have a watch of that. I highly recommend it. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, there's so much I've missed from this year's talks and different vendors that I just haven't put in this video. But I think if this is just like a teaser. I think if you want to experience the full thing, you've got to get down and go and see it. But yeah, that's it for today. And I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. Till next time.